federal government sets a schedule of what it thinks it costs to raise a child, 2 children, 3 children. And as you make more, the government says it costs more to raise a child, standard of living type thing. Okay. And so obviously, since 1997 to 2018, that changed. And so they changed the schedule, and how much child support you need to pay changed according with that. Not necessarily up, but just different. And so that's not the interesting part. That's just math. What was interesting was they also changed how do we calculate it. You plug in your incomes, you plug in health insurance, you plug in daycare, and this statute spits out a number. It's this much for 1 kid, this much for 3 kids, this much for 4 kids, right? That's your guideline. And if you're listening to this video and you are in a child support fight and you don't know what your guideline is, you have a big problem, and maybe you should come talk to us and figure that out. But guideline is very easy to figure out, and you just plug in numbers and it spits it out. Okay. There were factors you could use, and they exist now, but they've changed, to modify your child support from that deviation. And so, or from that guideline, you could deviate from that guideline. And so one of the factors was, how much time are you spending with the child? The actual phrase was in-kind contributions to the child's rearing. And so education, extracurricular activities, food, and the concept is the more time you have with the child, the more you're spending on the child, right? So pre-2018, there was this thing that divorce attorneys did and that people just assumed, the more time I have with my child, the less child support I should be paying. And kind of the rule of thumb and the move was, if I have 50-50 time, I don't have to pay child support. And so, and that happened a lot. And so,
or sorry to jump in, but what they would do is say, you do run a guideline for both parents and say parent 1 would pay $500 a month in child support and parent 2 would pay $250 a month in child support. You take the difference between the two, and parent 1 would end up paying $250 instead of the full $500 guideline. And that was kind of the standard of practice. And I guess since then, things have kind of shifted or should shift.
A lot of divorce attorneys haven't gotten over rules and think that, hey, if I ramp up parenting time, I can turn down child support.
Which is so sad. It's just a gross little move, in my opinion, but that's fine.
And so, and I think, the person who doesn't necessarily not want the kids, but just isn't equipped to have the children more, will harm the kids by saying, I want them more, demanding to have them more for the sole purpose of decreasing support. And for whatever reason, I think this was an unintentional consequence. I don't think this was the purpose of changing the law. But the new law, they've added this thing where if you have less than 90 overnights with a child in a year, you pay guideline child support. There's still deviation factors. There's still ways to pay less, but it just that's the standard.
No automatic deviation.
Correct. And there never was before. Mm-hmm. Now there's an automatic deviation down for if you have 90 overnights or more. And so what is 90 overnights or more? It's more or less every other weekend during the school year, half the summer, split the holidays. You're going to come out to 90, 95, 100, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And if you get that 90, you get a 10% deviation. Mm-hmm. And so with this 10% deviation being the kind of the bench post now, a lot of courts are like, well, the legislature has spoken, over 90 overnights, 10% deviation. Don't cut it in half. Don't do the offset.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Go 10% down. And so I think knowing that is helpful. Knowing that some, divorce attorneys might be stuck in that old mindset is helpful. Mm-hmm. And hopefully people aren't trying to crank up the overnights just to get a break on child support.
Right. Yeah, and having attorneys that know that that's what happens. People push for more overnights to lower their child support, but knowing the new law and being able to explain that there's the statute tells you how to handle these situations is super important and super helpful in avoiding judges or magistrates from just giving that discount just because that's how it's always been. Being able to explain that, no, this is how it should be done and there should not be a cut in half type discount is important.